We are gathered here today where we took an opportunity to discuss the current ongoing political discourse. This is a region that occupies over close to 70% of the Kenyan landmass with huge resource potential. But our voices as a region has not been coherent in terms of galvanizing and getting together to participate in a political discourse. We've agreed that today, and we've all unanimously agreed that we are going to take ourselves seriously for the benefit of our people, speak in one voice, and ensure the current ongoing discussions will not be left behind. For all the people here today, we support our President, Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta, and the political direction that is going to give to us. We support him, we support his alliance, and will fight for our fair share of our own voice over the resource of this country to benefit, for us to be on the political discussion table, to be not only a participant in the agenda, but importantly be an intrinsic participant in the current ongoing political discourse.
I'm sure you're not surprised. We are in the season of politics. All of you live in this country. You are aware of what is happening. You are aware of the different groupings that I imagine, and this has been part of the trend actually. For those of you who are familiar with the history of this country, since the advent of multipartyism in 1991 to date, barely 6 months or 1 year to the general election, you have seen the emergence of different groupings, and that is the essence of power. That is the essence of politics and democracy. So this group from Northern Kenya, for the first time, and I must admit, in the past we have been flower girls or flower boys for different groupings. This time around, because we occupy 70% of the landmass of the Republic of Kenya, and you know what constitutes the sovereign Republic of Kenya? First is land, second is people. We have decided as a group, first and foremost, and the group that you see, a group who are leaning towards the initiative by His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, the handshake, and this other group called the OPIA group. So you see now, it's not just out of the wellness. It's a group that is leaning towards the initiative by His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga under the handshake, and the OPIA group. So it's not an accident, and we are not trying to toy around. We are not in the wilderness. And that is why we are here. So this group that you see here, and you can look around, these are the brains from Turkana to Lam. These are the brains of the ASAL community. So that direction, and I think this should come out, the direction we are asking our people and the direction we are taking is to support and to be part of the initiative by His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, the Right Honorable Amolo Odinga, and the OPIA team. But in our own grouping, we want to shed off that tag of being flower girls and flower boys and sit on the table where those groupings will be making critical decisions. And that is why we are sitting here, and therefore, welcome. I'm not saying we represent 100%. Obviously, in politics, it's democracy. You will see this go together. But I can tell you this group that you see here will represent 90-something% of the interest of those ASAL regions up to Lamu. And I'm sure this will surprise many people, because in the past, it's like we will just be invited for something that, no, this is a departure from the way we used to do things. So
we, the leaders from the Arid and Semi-Arid areas, gathered to discuss matters that touch on our region and the nation at large. 58 years after independence, it is timely that we reflect together as leaders and the people from ASAL areas on their achievements, current and future aspirations, as well our collective contributions to development of our country. Upon concluding these deliberations, we resolve as follows. Recognizing the shared history, heritage, and destiny of the communities of ASAL areas, shaped by arid climatic conditions, deprivation, and systematic marginalization, aware that Kenya is currently grappling with an important discourse on political transition and succession ahead of the 2022 elections, appreciating that unity of purpose remains fundamental to the future hopes and aspirations of the communities in the region. Mindful of the likelihood that the socio-economic emancipation of ASAL areas will remain a mirage unless leaders from the region speak with one voice. Noting with great concern that despite ASAL areas constituting a vast landmass with a multi-ethnic, multi-religious, and culturally diverse population, it has suffered from political and social economic marginalization over the years, only being regarded as a swing vote. Convinced that changing the tide of marginalization under which ASAL areas have labored for decades requires establishing a strong political movement that can galvanize the numbers, negotiate with like-minded regional political heads, and bargain for inclusion of the ASAL areas agenda at the national level. Noting that since independence in 1963, development has been a key issue for the region, and that before the new constitutional dispensation in 2010, this had been pursued through initiatives such as national government's local authority trust funds, as well as successive ministerial appropriations. Further noting that the onset of devolution changed the narrative and has resulted in over 400 billion in resources being allocated in the last 9 years to the region through the respective county governments. Appreciating that while devolution should have been a game changer, development changes still persist across the entire ASAL region. And while they are unique and different from the rest of Kenya, the region still lags behind in infrastructure such as rural roads, water resources, and healthcare facilities, among others. Taking into consideration that much more still remains to be done in order to alleviate the effect of decades of systematic marginalization, and that this remains the priority of the region's national and county leaders. Having considered that despite the challenges in ASAL areas being common to some parts of Kenya, their challenges remain unique in terms of need and scope. As this region with the lowest coverage of tarmac roads and uptake of electricity connectivity and national grid coverage, and is also beset by insecurity, especially in their borders. Having further considered that the region is in dire need of increased investment in livestock production and marketing, coupled with affirmative action of the youth and women in terms of access to education, employment, and business opportunities. Deeply convinced that effectively dealing with these challenges will take much more than just devolved funds through county governments, but will also require a national blueprint with meaningful input from the region's leadership. We resolve and affirm that the leaders of arid and semi-arid lands recognize the need to speak with one political voice on behalf of their respective electorates. Further, affirm as leaders of ASAL areas the embracing of a new model of compassionate leadership, or uongozi wa watu. Declare accordingly the formation of a political movement to be known as the OPIA movement. Proclaim that the OPIA movement will unite residents from ASAL areas to articulate a common political position and objectives for the 2022 elections, and more specifically, negotiate for greater socio-economic investments and developments in the region. Further, we proclaim that the OPIA movement will bring together like-minded leaders keen on seeing ASAL areas develop as an integral part of Kenya. Confirm that the OPIA movement will be a grassroots-oriented and participatory movement which listens to the region's residents and affords them the opportunity to articulate their views in order to formulate strategies aimed at narrowing ASAL's area's development gap. We emphasize that the OPIA movement will provide ASAL areas with a unified and powerful voice at the national level and assure the region of seat at the national negotiating table. Further, We emphasize that the OPIA movement will be the primary vehicle through which ASAL areas engage in national political negotiations. We acknowledge that while times and political realities may have changed, the interests of the people living in ASAL areas are and will always remain central and paramount to the OPIA movement. We welcome all like-minded leaders, regardless of party affiliation, to unite towards a common agenda for the continued development of arid and semi-arid lands and the Republic of Kenya at large. Thank you very much.
Lechomo Samburu County, bile mnatuona tumeshikana pamoja kuhakikisha amani itapatikana Kenya. Na sisi tunaunga mkono rais wetu Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, na movement yote ya pastoralists lazima ijulikane katika kila pahali bila matatizo.
Mkiona Lamu hapa msishangae. Pengine mtaweza kufikiria sisi ni watu wa samaki, lakini sisi pia ni wafugaji. Wito, Hindi, mpaka Kiunga ni wafugaji. Kwa hivyo tuko hapa kutetea haki zetu pamoja, kwa sababu umoja ni nguvu, utengano ni udhaifu.
But the writings are on the wall. The people of the North have come together. We have decided we are going to be movers and shakers in the decision or the determination of the future of this country. We are no longer going to be passengers on other buses. We are going to be right there in the kitchen and on the table of the banquet. Thank you very much.
Mwanzo ningependa kusema ya kwamba leo ni historia kwetu sisi wafugaji na wale ambaye wanatoka sehemu ya ukame. Hatujakuwa na maono kama hii tangu tupate uhuru. Na sisi kama viongozi kutoka hizo sehemu tumesema lazima tukutane, tushikanishe watu wetu na tusiachwe nje kwa swala la siasa ambaye inaendelea katika nchi yetu. Na tumekubaliana sote ya kwamba lazima tuwe na movement ambaye italeta sisi wote pamoja ili tuwe na hiyo vyeko ambaye itatuhakikisha ya kwamba sisi watu wa kutoka hiyo sehemu tuko kwa meza. Hatuwezi kuwa kwa menu kila wakati. Na tumekubaliana ya kwamba ni muda mrefu ya kwamba tumekuwa part of menu, lakini leo tumesema hatuwezi kuwa menu.